Oh. In honor of JJK Season 3 coming out, I thought that maybe we should just focus on JJK for a change, instead of talking about Demon Slayer like we usually do. Now, this decision could have been influenced by the fact I haven't exactly made a video in a while. But that's just a little detail. The details that we should focus on are what this video is about. This video is about a character that has so much slander added to its name that it's a crime not to talk about it. The character's name is Yuta, and in this video, we will talk about why Yuta isn't a fraud like so many claim he is.
To understand if Yuta is a fraud or not, we first have to look at how his innate technique works. There's a lot of speculation of how his innate technique works, but I do wish to explain it in the best way I can. Oh yeah, by the way, there's timestamps down below, so if there's a topic that doesn't interest you, you can skip towards another part of the video that does pique your interest. Let's get on with the video now. Yuta's technique is called copy, which is a technique that focuses on copying other people's curse techniques, which is pretty self-explanatory. But the technique is not independent, since Rika is a huge part of this innate technique. But how does he even copy a technique if Rika is mandatory for it? To copy a technique, Rika must consume the body part of the sorcerer that Yuta wants to copy the technique from. Yuta cannot do this independently, and must have Rika to do this, mainly because of her biology as a cursed spirit. It was never stated or shown that Yuta can copy a technique about Rika, so we will make the assumption that he needs her to copy a technique. The second part of the copy technique is the storage. It is stated in JJK that curse techniques of any kind are stored in the brain, and having more than 4 curse techniques can fry somebody's brain. It would be impossible for Yuta to store a lot of curse techniques, since he would literally cripple himself by giving himself permanent brain damage. This is where Rika comes in, and where she stores every technique Yuta utilizes. So you may ask who the copy technique belongs to, Rika or Yuta. Well, the short answer is that it is more of a linked technique. Yuta is the actual vessel of the technique, but cannot use it about Rika. Think about it like this. Rika is the storage that stores the data she collects from other people. But she does not have the operating system to actually use the data herself. So, Yuta is the operating system. He doesn't have the capability of actually storing data, but he can use Rika's data, so they have to be connected to each other to fully maximize their abilities. The copy technique is very easy to understand how it copies and how it's stored, so since we covered all of that, let's now talk about the symbolism behind the copy technique. Now, just because Yuta cannot copy or store techniques independently does not mean the writer did this purely to nerf Yuta's technique. In fact, it has quite a bit of lore reasons why Yuta does need Rika. You see, Rika is actually a vengeful spirit, but she was not born from anger or fear, which is completely different from how we view vengeful spirits in both media and folklore. Now for the next minute or so, I'll talk about actual folklore. This is just to put in perspective how we view vengeful spirits outside of JJK. In Japanese mythology, we have the Unreal, which are vengeful ghosts born from women who were wronged. They usually return to cause natural disasters or to kill to redress wrongs. They are also considered wrathful spirits. The next spirit we're talking about is from Latin America. In English, they would be considered the crying woman. and are born from women who have drowned their own children in a fit of rage and now hunt riverbanks. They usually bring misfortune to those who can hear them. The last spirit we're going to talk about is a spirit from India, or more specifically, northern India. This spirit is a spirit born from a woman who has died during childbirth. And now she comes back as a vampire-like creature bent on revenge because of their bitterness due to their unborn child's death. Now, there's technically another version of the story where the woman has to die during the festival of Diwali, but the end outcome is the same. When you put these spirits side by side, you would realize all three of them have a common theme. They all come back from anger, bitterness, or revenge, regardless how they use it to take it out on the living, which is completely different from how Rika is born, which is actually the reason why I've been talking about these spirits. So what is my end point after my long rant about spirits? It's that Rika is different from all of them, because she isn't born from hatred or anger. Sure, she was possibly killed by a truck, but she hasn't came back because of that truck. She has come back because she didn't want to leave Yuta in a world like this. So that's kind of my end point here, that compared to all these other spirits, Rika is completely different. Since we already done a crash course of Yuta's technique and its symbolism, I think it is just fair to now talk through all techniques he has actually copied. The first technique Yuta has ever copied was cursed speech. If you don't know what this cursed technique is, it's an inherited technique from the Inumaki clan. He specifically copied the technique from Toge Inumaki during the final stretch of JJK 0. If you are not aware of how cursed speech works, I'll try to explain it right here in this video. Any words said from the wielder's throat will force the other person to obey, although the opponent's strength matters. An opponent that is weaker than the wielder will cause the command to be stronger, while an opponent who is stronger than the wielder will cause the command to be less effective. The drawback is that every command will damage the vocal cords of the wielder, and the stronger the command, the more damage it deals to the user's throat. Yuta channels this technique through the use of a megaphone, which enhances the volume of his voice while using her speech. The second technique Yuta has copied is called clairvoyance. If you're not aware of what this technique does, then let me quickly explain it to you. Clairvoyance is a technique that gives the user the ability to see near into the future. You can see the opponent's attacks and counterattacks. This works by the user using a pen called G Warstaff, which creates manga panels predicting the opponent's next move. It always starts with 1 second into the future, but the more blood it draws from the specific opponent you are fighting, the further into the future the user sees. The original user of this technique is Charles, which was a French-Japanese sorcerer that originally was a manga author. Although he was prideful of his manga art, he was forced into the con games and later lost to Kenji Hikari. The third technique Yuta has copied was from an ancient sorcerer of the name of... well, I actually cannot pronounce him, so I'll just put his name on the screen. Although we do know from what time period he is from, but at the same time, I cannot pronounce the time period, so that will also just go on the screen. This technique was never given a specific name, so most of the fans just call it shinigami summoning. This technique focuses on creating two different types of shinigami. The first kind come in the shape of some type of rodent, while the second type seem to be inspired by birds in terms of biology. An ability that is part of this technique is an ability to create paths, which the shinigami can travel through. These paths leave behind invisible barriers. The user can also combine the two shinigami together to open a domain expansion. Because of the unique circumstances that lead to the opening of this domain, it is stated to be one of the largest domains that still have a barrier, mainly due to the constant movement of the two shinigami. Yuta has also obtained this technique after his fight with the sorcerer during the Calm Games. The fourth technique that Yuta has claimed as his own is called Sky Manipulation. This technique was originally owned by a sorcerer of the name Yuro. This technique is self-explanatory by name. It lets Yuta manipulate the weather as if it were a mere object. He can use this technique to create storms or creating thin ice walls. He can bend the weather to whatever he wants, really. This technique was copied after his fight with Yuro in the Calm Games, which Yuro was actually a sorcerer from the Heian era as well. She mainly fought Yuta because of her beef with Yuta's ancestors though. The fifth technique Yuta has obtained was from a sorcerer called Angel. This sorcerer is from the Heian era as well, just like Yuro. This technique was called Jacob's Ladder, which, in my personal opinion, may be Yuta's strongest attack, or at least one of his strongest. This technique was copied after Angel lost her arm, which Yuta has used to his advantage to copy her technique. Jacob's Ladder is an extremely powerful attack. It is a beam of cursed energy from the sky, which nullifies any cursed energy or technique that it touches, which is why it causes so much damage. It nullifies the very energy that sorcerers use to fight with. The disadvantage of this is that to reach the full potential of Jacob's Ladder, you need to use a full chant and hand signs during the chant, which delays when Jacob's Ladder can be fired, and also makes the person not be able to fight to their full potential due to their hands being occupied. This technique also requires a lot of charge up time, so holding one person in one place may be. The final technique Yuta has copied in the main JJK manga is the one and only Ryomen Sukuna's own innate technique. If you're not aware of what technique Ryomen Sukuna even has, let me give you a little refresher. Sukuna innate technique is called Shrine, which consists of both Dismantle and Cleave, which are both slash based attacks. Dismantle is a long-ranged slash attack, while Cleave requires Sukuna for him to touch the opponent to slash them. Although Cleave may only be one strike and a close-range strike at that, it can change to fit others' durability to always cut the other person. Although Shrine has a third part, which is the Divine Fire Arrow, we are not aware if Yuta can even use this technique. Even though we went through all 6 techniques that he has copied, on top of my head, I cannot even think of any feats he has done with any of these techniques that are impressive or creative. So, I'll just move on to the next part of the video, but if you remember any feats that Yuta has done with any of these techniques, please comment down below, and that's kinda it, just thanks. For my next topic, I would like to bring up some abilities that Yuta has that he didn't copy. And the first technique I would like to bring up is the Love Beam. Now, as far as we know, the Love Beam is not an innate ability from another sorcerer, nor is it an innate ability that Yuta just had. Love Beam also is not a maximum technique, which some people do mix up this technique with a maximum technique. Instead, it is a laser beam of pure cursed energy, charged up and shot from Rika herself. This was supposed to showcase Yuta's and Rika's bond is strong enough to create an attack that is able to beat the antagonist of JJK0 Suguro Geto. There's not much more said about the Love Beam except for that. And even saying that it is a beam of pure cursed energy is a speculation, since it looked like Yuta's cursed energy and not like an actual innate technique. Now, I'm sure none of you are really that interested in Yuta's Love Beam. There really is not much more that needs to be said about this technique. But I am sure you guys are a lot more interested in something like... First, we will discuss what Yuta's domain actually does. Yuta's domain is a sure hit effect, like many domain expansions in the series are. Although, technically it has two functions instead of just being a pure sure hit effect. We will start with the non-sure hit effect ability first, which is Yuta's katanas. When Yuta opens his domain expansions, there's plenty of katanas around the battlefield. Those are a part of his domain expansion. Each of his katanas have a technique he copied during his lifetime in them, although Yuta has no idea what the ability is until he picks up one of the katanas. He can chain these attacks by dropping one katana and picking up another one right after. The second part of the domain is the sure hit effect, obviously. Unlike other domain expansions, which are stale and cannot change its sure hit effect, every single time Yuta opens his domain, he can choose one technique he copied to be its sure hit effect. Now that we got the basics of this domain covered, let's now focus on the symbolism behind this domain a little bit more. JJK does love giving domain expansions a lot of symbolism, so he fit quite a bit of symbolism into this one as well. The first piece of symbolism that catches my eye when I look at the manga panel is the pattern on the sky. This pattern is actually a knot, which is used for decorative paper in weddings in Japan. This knot symbolizes the eternal unbreakable union of the couple, which in this case would be Yuta and Rika. There's not much more to say about the pattern in the sky, so instead I'll go on to my next point, which is about the ground of the domain. When the domain opens, it also creates this type of graveyard littered with katanas. This graveyard is what connects love with death. Obviously, we can make the simple assumption that this graveyard represents the love Rika have, but it ended in tragedy in Rika's death. But I think there's another piece of representation this could mean. This could be more of an invite than a representation of their love. It is almost an invitation to witness the power of their love, promising absolute destruction. Now, both things can be true at the same time. The domain can represent the tragedy that Yuta's and Rika's love story has ended in, and also an invitation to see how strong their bond really is. So, we finally got to the very end of the video. The final point. Is Yuta a fraudulent, useless bum? No, he isn't. And no, I'm not gonna solve this discussion with power scaling. I'm not gonna make Yuta fight against characters A, B, and C, or whatever else. This video wasn't a power scaling video. Did I use Yuta's abilities to explain how strong he can be and how strong he truly is? Yes. But my video was more so an explanation of his abilities. Just so you, the viewer, can make your own assumption if Yuta is a fraud or not. So, what I want you guys to do is comment down below of your ideas of why Yuta is a fraud, or why he isn't a fraud. So, maybe in the future, I will create a video explaining my opinion if Yuta is a fraud or not. But, as this video is coming to an end, I'm not gonna go on power scale Yuta. Maybe in a video or two, but not now. Definitely not now.